There's a lie killing more lives than failure ever could. And the lie is this: I'm fine. Not fulfilled, not alive, just successful. If your life is being applauded but not felt, pay attention. I'm your host, AJ Jones, and welcome to another episode of Code 3 Life Reinvented. I'm super excited you're here, and I'm really looking forward to jumping into today's topic. Today, we're talking about numb success, the most dangerous place to live because the world rewards you for staying there. So what am I talking about? Numb success is when your life looks successful on the outside, but feels muted, feels flat, or even hollow on the inside. You're achieving, you're respected, you're admired, but you don't feel present in your own life. Numb success isn't pain, it's worse. It's the absence of signal. When the pain is loud, people change. When numbness is quiet and rewarded, people stay. I want to go back and say this part again. Numb success isn't pain, it's worse. It's the absence of signal. I think this is a really interesting and important thing we're going to be discussing today, this notion of numb success. It's something that I've been looking hard at recently, and it's so important to me now that I want to spend a whole solo episode walking you through my thinking here and why this is something that we really need to talk about and bring to the surface so we all have some clarity around what we might be dealing with. And numb success, I will say, has this insidious paradox. And here's what makes it so insidious. When you're successful but lacking any sort of compelling signal on the inside, you feel numb, feel flat. People flatter you, right? They say, "Oh my gosh, AJ, you have the best job ever. I would love to have your life." People will point to you as an example. "Oh, you see AJ over there? Well, he's killing it. He has like the best job and brings in all this money. He's like super good in his industry. People look up to him." People will say, "Oh, you've really made it. You're such a role model. Oh man, I wish I had your life." But the more disconnected you feel internally, the more validated you often become externally. Isn't that a strange phenomenon? The more disconnected you feel internally, the more validated you often become externally. And the world claps. Your calendar will fill up with invitations for all sorts of incredible things. Your status is rising, and yet your inner voice gets quieter and quieter. Numb success is dangerous because external applause drowns out internal truth. So that extrinsic validation, the rewards, the social proof that you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing, you're a superhero in some context because you have such a great job, great career, great life, you're a role model. The more you hear that, it drowns out what's trying to come out from the inside that's saying, "Hey, I don't know that this is where I want to be. I don't know that what I'm doing and how I'm living my life is for me right now." Then this is where things can get a little dangerous. You start gaslighting yourself. You say, "I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel this sense of numbness inside, that I'm suffering because I'm not aligned with my truth. I'm getting all this external validation, promotions and bonuses, raises, people talking about me in very flattering ways, or you in flattering ways, however it is, just play along here." You start saying to yourself, "I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel miserable inside. Like I don't have a signal. There's no sense of aliveness in me. I'm just carrying on. And I guess I've won the golden ticket here because I'm doing all these good things are happening. I've got a bit of a Midas touch on the external side or how people perceive me to be. So I shouldn't feel this sense of numbness inside, this lacking of a signal. Other people would kill for this life. People come up to me and tell me they would love to have my job and my earning power or whatever it is. Like I shouldn't be down on myself. I just need to be more grateful. And I guess this is ultimately what adulthood feels like. I've just got to buck up, pull myself up by the bootstraps, as my late grandmother would say, and just get on with it. Stop having this pity party and get on with life. And the truth is, you're not broken as you feel this. When you take a moment to stop gaslighting yourself, you're responding to misalignment. And that's an important piece here. There's something misaligned within you that needs to be addressed. So people can drift here. You choose safety over your truth. You postpone yourself for after this season in life, whatever that is. For I'll deal with this next year when X, Y, and Z happens. The kids get out of the house, say, I become an empty nester, or when some event happens, I'll tend to this matter. And you stay because leaving feels irresponsible. How would I explain this to my spouse, to my parents, to my kids, to my friend group, to my peers in my office? You don't want to disappoint the people who are looking up to you and really admire you. It kind of ties a bit to me in a sense, like in my corporate career, I don't know if I really burned out. I didn't fail per se. I just was dealing with the sense of succeeding and yet disappearing and not being totally tuned into what I'm doing and who I am as an individual, as a human being. And this trap is really hard to escape, right? There's no crisis to justify change. Like, hopefully you're not like me and you have not had life-changing events in the form of widowmaker heart attacks. Hopefully you haven't lost your job, or there isn't something else going on in your life that there's a real crisis that triggers and justifies a change. There's no breakdown. There's no hitting rock bottom. There's no proverbial permission slip. When you're visibly struggling, people worry. You show up showing signs of depression or high levels of anxiety, people notice and then they worry. But when you're successful but numb, people will celebrate. You're killing it, dude. You're doing great. Oh my gosh, your company's going to go public. You're going to make so much money. I wish I could be in your shoes, etc., etc. Most people stay in this notion of numb success, not because they lack courage, but because they don't want to look ungrateful for a life that everyone else is applauding. And that's the insidious nature, the paradox here. If this is landing, if you're recognizing yourself even a tiny bit here, allow me to be really clear. The answer to numb success is not, I repeat, is not blowing up your life. I would never recommend that. I do not get behind this mic on this podcast or in any other forum and recommend blowing up your life and burning it all down to the ground. But it's also not doing nothing either. You have to do something. This is my recommendation, and I'll get into some ideas for you if you're feeling like any of this is hitting home for you. I mean, ultimately, plainly said, if you don't interrupt, autopilot will keep choosing your life for you. And I think for many people, myself included, I definitely was on the autopilot train. That was my program for many, many years / decades, at least a couple decades. But eventually something started to talk to me from deep down inside and start signaling like, I don't know. Is this it? Is this what ultimately you want? You've got one lap around the track in life, and is this it? And I started to have some pretty real conversations with myself. So here's some recommendations. If any of this is landing with you or it's piquing your curiosity, step one, stop gaslighting yourself. Stop telling yourself you shouldn't feel this way. Stop using gratitude as a muzzle for your truth. Stop using gratitude as a muzzle for your truth. Stop waiting for a breakdown to justify honesty. Do not wait for a breakdown. Don't keep cruising on autopilot until someone slams into you on the highway. And then you're like, okay, I guess I got to make a change. Nothing is quote unquote wrong with you, but something may be wrong for you now. That is what we want to dig into. So the first step, stop gaslighting yourself. Step number 2 that I recommend is create a non-negotiable interruption. In fact, I like to make things very practical and things you can put in practice immediately. So let's say this week, create a non-negotiable interruption. Numb success survives on repetition. I go to work every day, I get rewarded, people think I'm doing great, that keeps me in the role that I have, even though I don't really feel great. You got to break the pattern. And it doesn't have to be anything super, super dramatic, but maybe it's some examples like this. Block 90 minutes on your calendar with no productivity goal. How about canceling one obligation that exists in your life, a recurring obligation that exists purely to maintain an image? Maybe you're a member of a club and you have to keep going to some event for whatever reason. I don't know, be one example. Third example would be do one thing that brings energy instead of credibility. Do one thing that brings you energy. Think of what could light me up this week? Anything. This is about breaking patterns. What could be one thing that brings you energy instead of credibility, that lights you up, that could be a passion project or an exploration of an idea that could turn into a passion project? Maybe it's time with the family in a special way. Maybe it's time with friends in a fun setting. Whatever it is. Or go someplace that reminds you of who you were before performance took over, before you became a human deliverable making machine. Like, who were you before that? And go somewhere, someplace that reminds you of that old self, an old setting, a scene, a park, a place, an old neighborhood, an old restaurant, a coffee shop, who knows? And this isn't necessarily self-care for those of you who think that these recommendations, examples are. No, it's about self-contact, breaking the pattern and getting back in touch with me or you in a very direct way. The next thing I recommend is run what I'll call an aliveness test and track it. So you don't need clarity just yet, but you need data points or emotional data points. So this aliveness test is composed of 3 questions, and they are, number 1, where in my life am I most admired, yet least alive? All right, I'll repeat that. Number 1, where in my life am I most admired, yet least alive? 2, what drains me every week that I keep calling, quote, just responsibility? What drains me every week that I keep calling, quote, just responsibility? And number 3, this is hard hitting and it may be tough to swallow, but number 3, if the applause stopped tomorrow, what would I still choose? If the applause stopped tomorrow, what would I still choose? You go through those 3 questions, write the answers down, don't fix them, track them. Ask those questions of yourself on some sort of pattern and see what starts to come up. Look at your answers that you've written down. And alignment doesn't arrive as a lightning bolt, if I could talk. It shows up as a pattern you can no longer ignore. And when I say alignment, what I'm talking about is when your authentic truth, your actions, and your ambitions are in concert, not conflict. So that's what I mean by alignment. It doesn't need to arrive as a lightning bolt. It shows up as a pattern. If you're into data analysis, data visualization, or whatever, you might see patterns that you can no longer ignore. And then tell one true person, a true friend, someone who you can confide in, a true thing. Now, see, numb success is isolating because everyone thinks you're fine. Man, AJ must be doing great. He's got this great job. He plays golf once a week with the guys. He and the family take a couple really nice international vacations to Europe or wherever, South America, the Caribbean, Hawaii, who knows? Everyone thinks you're doing just great. And and AJ posts these pictures on Instagram and all this stuff, so he must be doing great. But it's isolating, numb success is. So you need to tell one person one true sentence. This takes a little bit of courage. Some examples might be, I'm successful, but I feel disconnected. Or, I don't feel like myself lately. Finally, I'm questioning things I never questioned before. And when you put your truth spoken out loud, it has momentum. Silence and gaslighting and inactivity is what keeps numb success alive within us. And I would say in my last of recommendations here, delay big moves, but do not delay honesty with yourself. Don't go quit your job tomorrow. Do not torch your life. That's not things that would come out of my mouth. But I recommend do not keep living unconsciously. Truth first, intentional interruption second, bigger change later, if and when it's earned or needed. If you're living in numb success, don't blow up your life, but stop sleepwalking through it. Numb success, I'm one for a good metaphor and visualization and things, but I think of it like, I don't know, I'm a California Bay Area native, and I think of fog. And I've done so many walks in the woods out there. I no longer live in that part of the world, but the fog would just hang in the trees quietly, just sitting there, not moving. And I kind of feel like if I were to try to create a contextual visualization for what numb success is, I'd say it's like fog. And it just sits there, and it's numbing and has this sort of strange effect on one. And anyways, maybe I'm going too far out on a limb, but that's what I think of when I think of this thing called numb success. So numb success is not a personal failure by any stretch. It's actually a socially rewarded one, as I talked about earlier in this episode. If your life is being applauded but not felt, pay attention. That quiet discomfort isn't ingratitude, it's honesty trying to get your attention. Listen to that. When your honest truth, your authentic truth is trying to get your attention, I cannot encourage you enough to listen to it. Numb success isn't the end of this story. It's the moment before you stop gaslighting yourself and start telling yourself the truth. I hope all this makes sense to you. It's something that I've spent a lot of time looking at and thinking about. And as my company More starts moving into this world of helping the high achieving, accomplished professionals, senior leaders out there, move from numb success into this aligned reinvention, aligned with your truth and your authenticity and your actions and your ambitions. Like, I think this is really, really important. And I think there are a lot of people who are struggling with this notion of numb success. So I'm excited to share this concept with you, put it out to the universe, and I look forward to hearing what comes back. And you can reach me at aj@bemorealigned.com. Anyways, if this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to explore our company's website, bemorealigned.com. That's a new one for us, bemorealigned.com, the home of More. More is a destination for accomplished professionals who've been successful, but know something no longer fits. More exists for those at these crossroads, ready to move beyond autopilot, get radically honest, and build a life that's aligned with who they are now. As I said just moments ago, you can always reach me at hello@bemorealigned.com. And remember, life doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It waits for the moment you decide to stop settling. When your status quo feels like status no, it's time to listen and act. I'm AJ Jones. Until next time, stay honest, stay aligned, and keep answering that call.